Hello, hello, hello. I think we are live. If you're watching this right now, you're probably watching upon the re-upload, so I thank you very much. Fast forward just a handful of seconds, maybe 20, 30, 40 seconds forward, so that we can wait and give it an opportunity for a handful of people to cycle in here. Hey, if you happen to be watching, and you're not in here live, if you happen to be watching upon the re-upload, I appreciate you. As a channel, we just reached 7.1 thousand subscribers. That's been absolutely crazy. I can't believe that very short period of time, actually. We went from 4,000 to 7,000, 7.1. I mean, we've almost doubled. We're getting pretty close to having doubled the size of the YouTube channel. Very crazy, very cool. We've got Luke in here. We've got Caitlin, good to see you. We've got Captain Creativity. I accidentally kept liking the dislike button. You mean clicking the dislike button? Anyways, what's everybody up to? Hopefully you all have had a good day so far. I see a few people jumping in here. Wreck-It, what's up, man? Cynthia, good to see you as always. You've been absolutely on fire on YouTube lately. I know, and not so much my long-form videos, my videos that are like 4 to 10 minutes long. It's funny because I put a lot of work into those videos, but they don't perform super well. They'll get up to, a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 if I'm lucky. But my YouTube shorts, my short form content, so that's been doing really well. Not just here, my short form content has always done well on TikTok. It continues to do fairly well there, but also really well on Instagram Reels. My Instagram Reels have been doing super good. I have a dog hair. Hang on. Sorry about that, guys. I had a dog hair was going to drive me crazy. When I look at the camera, I could see this stupid white dog hair. Jason says, I have YouTube Premium on this account. That's where I watch most of my stuff and not the Brewster Call. That makes sense. Phoenix says, hey, Vic, if you haven't heard this yet, Ghislaine Maxwell admitted in a recent interview on camera she believes that Epstein did not kill himself. I saw that, and, we all have known this for a long time. It's definitely interesting, a development of sorts to hear that Ghislaine Maxwell also, believes the same thing. I don't know how anybody wouldn't. Right, to be completely honest, is there anyone out there who thinks that he actually offed himself somehow? No, I don't think so. But definitely a development to see Ghislaine. How do you pronounce this lady's name? Ghislaine Maxwell. Anyways, does Carrie Lake have a chance? First Lady, I would love to tell you yes, but she says she has some interesting new revelations. 250,000 votes, something like that, were tabulated weird. They've got the 40,000 different ballots that had the weird signatures, but realistically, no. We're at this point where Katie Hobbs has been sworn in. The case is going to be considered moot, more than likely. I wish I could give you a different answer, but that's my honest opinion, is that it's too late. That's the cancer that is associated with American elections, is that by the time you collect any evidence or bring anything forward, they're going to say, nope, that's latches, you should have brought it forward sooner, or it's moot now because somebody's already been sworn in. The courts just don't like to get in on that. So as much as I love Carrie Lake, I just don't see that happening. Ghislaine, that's how you pronounce this lady's name? Ghislaine Maxwell? That's terrible. I'm going to keep pronouncing it as Ghislaine. She's been teaching etiquette classes since she's been in prison. That's kind of weird. Except it meets the 3-part moot exception. See, I mean, Caitlin would be able to tell us what that is, I'm sure, but I just can't see them. I wish I was wrong, but I can't see them being like, yeah, let's bring it, Wreck-It says we should put Victor here for president. Kick old Joe out. I would not really want to be president, but hey, I'll take it. The country would be better off with me than it would be with Joe. It would be better off with any of you than it would be with Joe. It would be better off with a toddler or, just a literal sack of human poop. Probably still be better. Redneck Zeus says, howdy, what's up, man? Good to see you. I haven't done, I'm sorry, guys. I haven't been super consistent with the streams, but Hashtag bring back public duels. I missed last week's stream because I had to go help my sister. She has twins, and her husband was out of town traveling, and that's a lot to take care of. She has one son under, I think he's 3 years old or so, and then she has two twins that are like newborns, so I went and helped. But same exception that was used to get Roherd. Ironic. Oreos and cookies, what's up? Good to see you. That's a name I don't think I've seen in the streams before, so it's good to see you. Did you miss Saturday's deep dive too? Yes. So I posted about this on the locals. I should have probably talked about this sooner in today's YouTube stream. I hate to say it, but I'm out of content for the podcast. If you want a full review of my thoughts on it, I posted it to locals for everybody, I believe. But when we started the Deep Dive podcast, and to those of you who don't know, I have a podcast called The Deep Dive, and the basic premise was that once a week we would start a deep dive into one subject, between 20 and 30 minutes long. We would unpack something, right? So I have my daily radio show that's now from 4 to 6. I have my daily short-form content, my YouTube content, and etc. But the idea of the podcast was I wanted to have a long-form, sit-down, in-depth discussion, analysis, whatever, about one topic and do it for 20 or 30 minutes. And when we started it out, we had so much quality content out there, just material to talk about. We talked about, the Second Amendment. We talked about the First Amendment. We talked about immigration. Everything. Traditional gender roles, all of the big ticket stuff. We had 35 episodes of the Deep Dive podcast, and I kind of ran out. To be totally honest, I've hit on everything I wanted to hit. I've kind of run out of content material, and I got to the point where I felt like I was just shoving out a podcast just to shove out a podcast, that it wasn't good podcast. It wasn't my best work by any means, and I was just kind of regurgitating and rehashing what I had just said on my radio show. And now that I'm doing 2 hours of radio every day, it's a lot of prep, it's a lot of this stuff. I will get burnout if I just continue to rehash the same thing. So if you want a podcast, my radio show is uploaded in podcast format every day, Real Talk 933 FM, link in all of my bios. And you can catch the 2-hour-long podcast that's up every single day. But as far as the deep dive, I'll still keep using it. I'll still keep uploading. It's just not going to be as structured or as scheduled as it was, because the last thing I want to do is just batch out content for the sake of batching out content. If I'm rolling out half-baked ideas that are garbage, I don't know. So as we see fit, as things come up, I'll definitely hit on the deep dive again, but we'll see. For now, we're on pause. Anyways, you're such a... Oreo cookies comments. He says, "You're such a good brother. I wish I had. I'm sort of new, but I followed you first through Instagram." Hey, that's cool. That's cool. It used to be everybody was from TikTok, so it's cool to see some people coming in from different streams. Caitlin says, "It's basically just that it's an issue that is bound to come up again." Okay, I got you. I follow. Phoenix says, "I'll say my piece on the Crowder Daily Wire feud. At this point, it seems like unnecessary drama to fuel further division in the common sense crowd. I can understand that perspective." Captain Creativity says he has a video podcast called The Brewster Call. Check it out. Shameless plug. I watch The Brewster Call. I enjoy it. His editing skills are far better than mine. I do enjoy it. Caitlin says you should take breaks, have seasons like TV shows. That's probably a good idea. Wreck-It says you got to pace yourself, as good as the deep dives were. I appreciate that. TikTok is booty. Yes, Senator Josh Hawley has introduced legislation to outlaw TikTok. Do you know of a list that allows us to support patriotic businesses? There is a company. I'll try and get you... There's a company that sponsored some friends of mine up at Upward News, and they compile a list. I forget the name of it, but I will reach out to them. In fact, I'll try and get them as a sponsor. So, why should the App Store have banned Parler in 2021 but not TikTok now? It's a very good question. I don't use TikTok, but I've been lucky to crossword with you in Instagram. Yes, Instagram. It was Public Square. Captain Creativity. You're right. It's Public Square. Yep. But yeah, Instagram's been cool. We've had some videos go viral on Instagram, a couple million views in the last couple weeks. Very, very exciting, very cool. YouTube Shorts have been doing all right. We cap out, I guess, on YouTube at 10 to 25,000 views on a short form video, which is awesome. I love doing short form videos. They're super easy. Most of the time I can say my piece in 60 seconds. So short form video content is pretty good for me, but I do like doing the long form video content. So make sure you guys are checking that, and leave a like, a comment. Comments specifically help kind of boost the algorithm, you know. So I do like doing the long form stuff. And Reckitt says it may be easier to list who doesn't have classified documents. Yes, so Mike Pence has been found to have classified documents. He criticized Trump, by the way, for having classified documents. He went on a CNN media tour where he kind of threw Trump under the bus a couple times, tried to distance himself from Trump, tried to kind of set up a potential run for 2024. And he criticized Trump for having mishandled the classified documents, just to find out that, you know, he come to find out he had them too. So it's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. I've said this since the beginning. I'll remain consistent here. It wasn't a big deal when Trump did it. It's not that big of a deal that Joe Biden did it. And it's not that big of a deal that Mike Pence did it. If you're going to have documents, I would prefer that you keep them safe. Joe Biden was tremendously reckless, just keeping them in his garage in an office at a college. Not preferred, but at the end of the day, these guys have so much classified information in their brains. They are the walking, talking incarnation of a national security threat. There's a reason they have, you know, Secret Service. Their houses are on lockdown with Secret Service protection and etc. They have had so many classified documents in their possession. I'm not that mad if we find out, oh, look, they had another one. Like, okay, is it preferred? No. At the end of the day, is it that big of a deal? No. As long as they're not malicious, as long as they're not trying to sell these documents, I would prefer they don't do it. Don't get me wrong, but not that. I just feel like it's not that big of a deal. But they made their bed, right? They made a huge deal out of this, and now they have to sleep in it. They made the bed. They set the standard. They set the precedent. Now they need to live by it. If Trump goes to jail for violating the Espionage Act, so does Mike Pence, and so does Joe Biden, and all kinds of other people, right? It's not going to be just them. I am very confident when I say speakers of the House have classified documents in their private possession. Members of the cabinet definitely have stuff in their possession. All of these people, we've known this for forever. All of these people leave with classified documents. It's not that big of a deal. But it is funny, right? Like, who doesn't? Am I the only guy who doesn't have classified documents? Phoenix says, you're waiting for the day when the porn industry crashes and dies. That's facts, aren't we all? Burn it down. He says it's as dangerous as drug addictions. That's facts. Burn it down. I need it to cease from existing. That is facts. Burn it down. Completely shut down the whole industry. The porn industry is degenerate. It's evil. It's awful. By the way, let's use this to bring in a talk I've been wanting to have for quite some time now, and it's my beef with libertarianism. And that might surprise people because I used to be very libertarian. I still hold a lot of small government beliefs. I'm not an authoritarian by any means. I think a perfect system of government is a libertarian, very, very small government. But here's an important truth that the libertarians seemingly forget. Humans will always, and listen very carefully when I say this, humans will always have to be, by our nature, we have to be ruled by something. And in a libertarian state, we're not ruled by the government. That's a good thing. We have to be ruled by God. A libertarian society is only a good society if the people in that libertarian society are rational, moral people capable of self-governance, and they have to have some form of a higher power that they look to. For example, in the United States, a libertarian system of government in the past might have been more plausible. It might have been something that was potentially more successful, whereas now our society at large has thrown out God. We no longer have this uniform set of worldviews and moral right and wrongs and etc. So now if we implement libertarian views, we get furries. We get people who are just so sexually degenerate. They say, well, I should be able to be polygamous. I should be able to have sex with a dog. I should be able to do this and do that. It doesn't matter how deviant and how degenerate I get because I'm not hurting anybody else. And this libertarian worldview has created this laissez-faire, hands-off approach by conservatives who have been lulled into this false sense of security, and they think, well, I don't care if somebody else does that because it doesn't affect me. lie. That is that is absolutely 100% patently incorrect. Whatever culture you foster affects you. So if we as a culture start to accept and embrace and celebrate vice and degeneracy, that's going to impact all of us. It's going to impact our kids. It's going to impact our future laws. Wherever your culture goes, everything else will follow. So if we get a degenerate, godless, hedonistic culture, we're going to have degenerate, godless, hedonistic laws. You understand what I'm saying? So as our country turns away from that universal understanding of moral right and wrong coming from God Almighty, and we start to shift our worldview, now we have almost freedom for the sake of freedom just to be degenerate. It's like people are supporting, that's probably the best way to say it. What is the value? What is the significance? What is the importance of the freedom just to be degenerate for the sake of being degenerate? Is that somehow virtuous? Is that somehow a good? Is our society, seriously, ask yourself this question and feel free to answer it for me. What is the value? What is the benefit of a society that permits freedom for the pure purpose of being free to be degenerate, right? And the conversation of porn is so perfect. I say, ban it. I say ban the porn industry. Ban it for everybody, not even just for kids. Literally ban the entire porn industry. It's a drug. It's addictive. It destroys people's lives. Ban it just like we ban heroin. Deadly serious. Ban it in the exact same context that we ban heroin. And then some people will retort to that. They'll say, well, who are you to tell me what I can and cannot watch? Who are you to tell me if I can't become cripplingly addicted to graphic, disgusting pornography? Who are you to tell me that I can't, watch the most godless things I've ever seen in my entire life? Who are you to say that? I'm me. That's who I am. I'm me. That freedom to go watch whatever you want? What's the value in that? What is the virtue? What does our society gain? What's the societally redemptive factor within pornography? The freedom just to be free so that you can be degenerate? What is the net value? What is the gain? There is none. It doesn't exist. So to me, when you have an industry like the porn industry, like drugs, etc., that only serve to destroy culture, that only serve to ruin people's lives and destroy our country, ban it, right? When you have a thing like pornography popping off in the United States, the average age that a child sees porn in the U.S. is 11. The age of 11. It literally will chemically restructure your brain. It hijacks the number one most important driving biological set of chemical reactions and structures in the male brain, which is the pursuit of food and sex. It literally hijacks the sex regions of your brain and is like the single strongest drug in existence, basically. All the science is undeniable on this. Pornography is like one of the most addicting things in the entire world, and these 11-year-old kids are getting exposed to it, and it's not something that's easy to break. Right? And the earlier you see it, the more that it latches onto you, the more that it's like literally in your brain. Totally horrible and evil. I say ban it. And my question to anyone who says don't ban porn is why? Why? Like, for real, I want somebody to answer that. Why would someone be against me banning porn? Why? What is the purpose of it? And people will say, well, it's because I'm free, so that I can be very libertarian, so that I can be free. What is the benefit? How is society any better? How are we any better based on that idea? Just so that we can permit degeneracy? And then people say, well, because I don't want you to be able to define what's degenerate. I don't want you to be able to define what's good and what's bad. We already do that. We done been doing that. It used to be that libertarian principles were permissible. They were okay. They fostered a good government because the people of the United States had essentially a uniform understanding of right and wrong. We understood that morality was determined by God and the Bible. That's where we got our sense of right and wrong. That's why to this day, whether people are willing to accept it or not, to this day, 90% of all the people in the United States do not support polygamous marriage. Why? Use the libertarian perspective. Use the gay marriage perspective. Why is it that people are not okay to cross that cultural bridge yet? It's because we still have our roots, whatever little bit is left, we have our roots of morality in the Bible. The Bible says polygamous marriage is a sin. All of the kings of the Old Testament that did it were judged by God because it was sin. There is no philosophical, political, libertarian reason to oppose polygamous marriage, but the vast majority of people are not on board with that. That is a ghost. It's like the crumbs, the remnants of what used to be when our society looked to God for our morality. If you have that universal worldview and that general consensus on what right and wrong is, then yes, libertarian small government perspectives work very well. And that is still what I would prefer. I would vastly prefer, if you ask me what the perfect society is, the perfect form of government is, it's a extremely small government, very libertarian-minded government, where everyone in that country, not everyone, it's not a prerequisite, but 90% of the country is overtly Christian. That is the perfect form of government. And to the surprise of the liberals out there, that is the form of government we had in this country until about 1980. Until about 1980, that is basically the form of government that we operated under. Now, we've thrown God out. We've completely thrown him out of the schools, thrown him out of education, thrown him out of politics, thrown him out of everything, and we have this weird secular humanist worldview. And now we have after-school Satan clubs. Now we have people taking their kids to go see drag queens so that they can stuff dollar bills into the thong of a drag queen. What is the advantage of this? How is our society better? Is this what progress looks like? Is that the new operating definition of progress? Well, then call me a regressive, because I'm not okay with that. Anyways, that's my that's my spiel. I've been wanting to get that off my chest for a long time. I am not a libertarian. I am no longer a libertarian. I don't support libertarian ideals, at least not in the current state of affairs in the United States. If we have a massive Christian revival, I will consider it again. Let's see. I missed a lot of comments. Holy cow. I really missed a lot of comments. Okay, let me see. It's annoying they make a big deal about it when it's Trump, not so much with Biden. True, the hypocrisy is ridiculous. If they didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. Unqualified advice. What is better, going scorched earth and completely ousting oneself as America first, or the inside agent approach / working within the system to change it? Totally case by case. I think for me, I answered that question in my own life. I ousted myself, very public with it. For a lot of people, they don't have that option, so the better is the latter. Man, I need to scoot forward so I can use the back of my chair so I'm not leaning forward so much. That's funny. Captain Creativity says, I said this on your short video once. Rule 34 of the internet is if anything exists, there is an adult content version of it. Rule 34 of the left, if anything exists, it's probably racist somehow. That's funny. Jason says, I'm trans age. I identify as a boomer. You must give me senior citizens discounts. Otherwise, you're boomer phobic and you will be canceled. Howdy, folks. Did I miss Victor talking about Crowder versus Daily Wire? No, we will get to it. That's my next thing. I promise we'll get to it. I'll throw in my 2 cents. Redneck Zeus says liberty is not the freedom and ability to do, quote, whatever the hell you want. Liberty is the freedom and ability to do what you ought to do. Boom. I've heard it said before that the difference between freedom and liberty is freedom is the right to do anything that you want. Liberty is freedom plus morality. I think that's a great way to put it. Reckitt says, I think the only people who don't want porn banned are those who make money off of it. Those who make money off of it, or those who are tremendously addicted and have tried to convince themselves that there's nothing wrong with it, even though every time they watch it, they have the pit of their stomach drop and they feel tremendous conviction. But they try to convince themselves that there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a stress reducer. It's just whatever. I encourage everybody to, if you disagree with me on that, watch John Doyle's 2-hour-long dissertation on it. It's fantastic coverage of it. Jason says, I said this at the very beginning of the stream, but I just finished attending a Christian group on campus that's based. Says, it's interesting seeing people that you see every day in class, but didn't expect them to be Christian. That is definitely an interesting thing. On a side note, I've tried to make it a goal in my life, although I'm probably not doing very good at it. I've tried to make it a goal in my life to live in a way that makes people know I'm a Christian. And not because I'm overt and annoying with it, and not because I have a bunch of church merch, but so that people see Christ in me. I think that's the best thing that we as Christians can do. Inevitably, we will never live up to that. We'll never get it right all the time. But people should, when they think of me, I want them to think of a Christian. I want them to think of somebody who tries at least to represent Christ. Although I'm sure I like I said, don't do a great job at it. But Reckitt says they like to call evil good and good evil. That is true. Libertarian, this comes from Road King Thor. He says libertarianism is a great preventative measure, but it's not the solution for our problems. I'm actually going to disagree with you on this one. I don't think libertarianism is a preventative idea at all. I think libertarianism is a pipe dream, in all honesty. I think if it could be applied, it would be absolutely fantastic, but I think it will inevitably fail. The reason I say that is the people who want to be left alone will always lose to the people who are hell-bent on winning. Libertarians want to be left alone. They are laissez-faire. They try not to impede into other people's lives, and it's noble and virtuous to seek out those ideals, but when you practice libertarianism, you end up where we are right now. Libertarianism infiltrated the Republican Party, and many conservatives, without realizing it, are more libertarian than they are conservative, and it's created a problem. Let's see. Phoenix says, it's ironic how OnlyFans didn't start out as a porn website, but that quickly changed a couple years after it launched in 2016. I didn't actually know that. Francis says, I would greatly like to see a debate between Dr. Michael Savage and Stefan Molix? No idea who that is. Much like how I'd like to see Dat Boy Victor debate Vosh. I don't actually know any of Vosh's opinions, but I could probably, honestly, I think I could probably arrange that. Vosh debates a lot of people. Unqualified advice number 2 from Jason says, more so your opinion. I'm basically a conservative at this point, right? I think so. He says, like I keep saying, I'm independent with a right lean, and maybe classical liberal, but in this culture? ? I'm not sure what the question was, the qualified advice. I think you're relatively conservative. I think that you're a Republican that's socially conservative is about what I would say. John Doyle's dissertation was on pornography and why it's bad and should be banned. Glee Smee says, we have been living through the dystopian alternate reality in which Ron Paul was not elected president in 2008. True. Very, very real. Redneck Zeus says, the closest thing to libertarianism you'll ever see in practice is something closely resembling medieval Christendom. That's probably true, actually. That's probably true. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. I have intentionally limited myself whenever it comes to the coverage of the great conservative civil war between the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder. Now, for context and for transparency's sake, I am a Steven Crowder fan. I do have my loyalties to Crowder. However, I've also had my great criticisms over the years on the Daily Wire. My criticisms specifically regarding to Ben Shapiro and the executives at Daily Wire, the way that they handle things. Although I do love some of their content, this is not a hit piece on any of their hosts. I think many of them are great. However, I've noticed a trend, even before all of this came out, that Ben Shapiro is never censored. He's never banned. He's never regulated. He's never shut up, which gives this impression of a little bit of controlled opposition, as if the folks at the Daily Wire had been working with big tech. Now, Steven Crowder, although you can debate on whether or not he should have recorded that phone call. I know that's a tripping point for a lot of people. Steven Crowder exposed a very tightly held secret that was only known by a handful of people within the industry, people who had gotten very close to it, people who had seen bad contracts, people who had negotiated with some of these big conservative groups out there. And that is the fact that in order to make it big in this industry, you sell your soul in a certain way, because you have to sell out. You have to agree to certain terms that you won't say certain things. For example, in the era of COVID, there was a specific injection that the Daily Wire hosts were not allowed to criticize. In fact, Ben Shapiro himself promoted it and said that if you don't get the particular injection, then you were a doofus or a dunce or something like that. They were also not allowed to talk about a particular election that happened in the year of our Lord 2020. They weren't really allowed to talk about that. Michael Knowles pushes the envelope a little bit, but as far as their shows, their content on social media, they're not allowed to do that. So I say all that to say the Daily Wire and their contract and Steven Crowder's criticisms of it had nothing to do with money. The Daily Wire has tried to frame it as though Steven Crowder was upset that he got lowballed with $50 million, and that was a lowball offer. Although it sounds crazy, that's full production, his entire crew, 30 employees, filming, budget, everything. So it was a lowball, but that was not his primary concern. He took himself out of the equation and said, please tell me you're not sending these contracts to young people. They'll never make it. Because in those Daily Wire contracts were punitive measures on behalf of big tech. So that if you got a community guidelines violation on, for example, YouTube for saying something that Susan Wojcicki didn't like, of which we've had many, we almost lost this page because I got so many strikes in such a short period of time, then you would be docked like a tremendous percentage of your pay. And like 10, 20, 30%, adding up all of the totals, you would be docked 110% of all of your pay that you got as a host, which essentially meant that the conservative platform, the Daily Wire, that was supposed to be fighting big tech, that was supposed to be fighting for free speech, was actually penalizing their hosts on behalf of big tech, the exact people that they were swearing that they were fighting against, which is a secret, like I said, that's been kept pretty hush-hush for quite some time. And I've never to the level that Crowder was having, but I've had real conversations with some very real players in the conservative movement, and I have turned down contract opportunities because I wasn't willing to sell out. That is a prerequisite whenever it comes to a lot of these big companies. People make that decision. You know, it's whether you want to get a soft message out to a lot of people or the truth out to a smaller number of people. I'm not saying that there's a right answer there. I'm just saying that for me, I'm not going to self-censor. I'm not going to work in a way that makes me beholden to the people who hate me. These people absolutely hate me. Why would it be appropriate to say I'm fighting them, meanwhile making myself completely dependent upon them and doing whatever they tell me to do? Now, the Daily Wire, if you don't agree with me here, the Daily Wire has the infrastructure, the capacity, the reach, the influence to flip the bird to all of big tech, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. They could move to Rumble. If they wanted to. Crowder showed that this blueprint exists. Crowder's numbers on Rumble were insane. When he was on like strikes and violations and couldn't post, he went to Rumble, and he did exceptional numbers. Daily Wire could do that, and they wouldn't have to find their hosts. They wouldn't have to give them this list of things that they are allowed to talk about, that they're not allowed to talk about. I totally, 100%, I absolutely stand with Crowder. As for recording a phone call, listen, you're talking about that level of business dealings, record the phone call. If you haven't watched Crowder's explanation on the Tim Pool podcast, definitely go watch that. He explains it. This whole you don't record a friend narrative kind of falls apart when you learn about employee poaching, when you learn about some of the other details that Daily Wire didn't talk about. That's, you know, it's worth watching that. But that's my take. I still love a lot of the guys. I like Michael Knowles. I like some of the hosts at Daily Wire. I think many of them are fantastic. But at the same time, how are you going to say that you're on our side when you're turning into controlled opposition? That upsets me a lot. Let's see, where are we at? Christine says I'm late. I'm sorry, Christine. Twin says, that's what I was going to ask about the Daily Wire versus Crowder. I think I covered that now. Redneck says, maybe recording a phone call was a moral error, as Andrew Clavin put it, but that doesn't change the fact that Daily Wire is willing to exploit their talent whenever possible with predatory contracts. Facts. Caitlin says, recording the call is very normal and standard in negotiations, especially of this caliber. Don't let anyone fool you, friend or not. Very true. Hope says, 20 people watching, but only 8 thumbs up. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thank you, everybody. Give it a thumbs up. Caitlin says, recording a call while negotiating can be used to go back and recall exact details for drafting a final agreement and for accountability. Morality truly has nothing to do with it. I think I agree with that. I think the timeline of events is damning for Crowder. There's some truth to that. Watch the Tim Pool thing. When he was offered the term sheet, which his agent scoffed at it, when he got the website, etc., I do fear for Daily Wire turning into Fox News 2.0. That is a legitimate statement there for sure. LPMC? I don't know what LPMC is, Glee. Liked and shared, love your content. Thank you, Donna. Hey, everybody, make sure that you're watching all of the uploads, the long forms, you know, all that kind of stuff. Libertarian Party. Okay. All right. I follow. Yeah, Tim Pool is think he's a libertarian, right? Isn't that what he calls himself? Y'all, my hair has been bad this entire stream, and ain't nobody told me. I had this goofy little piece of hair sticking down. Caitlin's going to make fun of me because she's like, you care about your hair so much. Yeah, I do. I care about my hair. Anyways, we're at about 35 minutes. I'm willing to keep going for a little while longer because we missed last week's stream. But I think I covered everything I wanted to cover. We talked about the documents. We talked about the conservative civil war. We talked about a lot of stuff. I think we're good, right? Right? We did some unqualified advices. He's obsessive about it. My hair. It's true. I am. I won't lie. When the hair looks good, you got to care. I know you just got to care. You got to care. That's how Tim Pool describes himself. A post-liberal, liberal 2008 critical thinker who doesn't give to the culty left. I think Tim Pool is afraid to say that he's actually mostly conservative. I think he wants to hold on to that. Like, I used to be a liberal. I'm independent. I don't know him that well, but the takes I've seen from him are, well, they're pretty conservative. He might be a 2008 conservative, realistically. Not a 2008 Democrat, but a 2008 conservative. Road King says, hate Fox News. Kind of feel like none of this is worth dividing the right wing. I wish it was kept quiet, at least until after Crowder got his own deal set up. We need to be united. I ordinarily agree. We do need to be united, but some things need to be aired out in the public eye. There are a lot of people who send their money to Daily Wire under the false pretenses that the Daily Wire is fighting big tech, when in reality, the Daily Wire is quite literally doing the bidding of big tech. People needed to know. There have been so many hush-hush bad contracts, predatory deals, young people who are bought out. They sell their soul to these people who say that they're on our side. Listen, I have received, some of you know this, some of you don't. I've been in very serious conversations with some very serious, very large conservative groups, some of which were very good conversations, absolutely loved, no complaints. Some of them not so much. Some people sent me contracts that said, we own all of your social media, your YouTube, your TikTok, your Instagram, your devices that were used to create that content. We own you in perpetuity. Whatever you make is ours. We have full right to control your social media. I have been handed what Crowder referred to as a slave contract. I wouldn't use that term, but I have been handed contracts and sent ideas that are like, oh yeah, we'll completely buy you out for XYZ amount of money. And my response obviously was no. That there's a reason that I'm not tremendously wealthy right now is because I say no to these things. Standing on principle is very difficult. I have a lot of respect for the fact that Crowder said no to tens of millions of dollars and said, listen, I know this is going to cause a big stinky, but I'm going to stand on principle because everybody needs to know what these contracts are like. These are people who say they're on our side, and in reality, they're throttling and censoring and shunning and silencing everybody that they have on their roster because they're so worried about profit margins. They're so worried about making a successful business model that they stopped focusing on the cause. When you put business above the cause, you've got your stuff backwards, and I think people need to know about it. Maybe it could have been done better, but nonetheless. The donors deserved to know. I agree with Danielle. The people who are voting with their dollars, the 50-year-old woman who can't become a radio host, she can't become a Fox News contributor, she can't, become a senator or something like that. The average 50-year-old woman out there who sends their money to Daily Wire because they think that Daily Wire is fighting the fight on their behalf. So they fund the fight. They fund this battle that's happening. That woman needs to know that she's been sending her money under false pretenses. That's my opinion. That's what I think. But, anyways. Glee says, Lori says, hi, Victor, love you. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. Lori is in all of the comments of all the videos. Massive supporter. Absolutely love it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Glee says, you deserve a bigger platform, even if you have to grow it yourself. Very difficult, by the way, these days. The algorithms have changed. They squash people like me. There's a reason that my content, which in my opinion is pretty good, there's a reason that my content doesn't do very well. If you watch one of my videos on YouTube, and then you look at the recommended tab next to it, it's Fox News, it's Sean Hannity, it's these people, they no longer promote small creators. Very difficult to make it big on these traditional like YouTube platforms. But thank you, I appreciate that. Jordan Peterson may have made a mistake by signing on to Daily Wire. Fun fact, Jordan Peterson shared Steven Crowder's video on Twitter before the Daily Wire made him take it down. Jordan Peterson agreed with Steven Crowder, but he wasn't allowed to because, Jeremy Boring. By the way, anybody who calls themselves the God King, sus. But not to say I hate the guy, not to say I would never work with him, but I would never call him the freaking God King. I can promise you that much. The God King? Give me a freaking break. I can't believe that their hosts actually call, every single one of the hosts at the Daily Wire calls Jeremy Boring the God King. No, miss me with that crap. I'm not doing that. That's not right. I don't play games with that stuff. Wreck-It says, this is why we support you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, I am 23. Did somebody ask? I don't see that comment, but I am 23. Hope says, we should never despise small beginnings. That's how it begins. That's true. 90% with Crowder on it. The phone call was a bit sketchy. I get that. Good evening, comrades. What's up, Conservative Immigrant? Good to see you in here, man. Hey, folks, if you haven't subscribed to my friend Conservative Immigrant, make sure that you do. Very good guy. Really like him. I will have to watch that, Luke. Thank you for bringing that up. Trump should grow a beard. True. I do see value in Daily Wire prioritizing business. It's good that they made their documentaries, led the march in Nashville, and etc. That all takes money. I totally agree. There's just different strokes for different folks, but be transparent about it. That's my thing. If you're going to censor your hosts, people need to know. And they intentionally didn't tell people. That's the principled issue. Let me see. Captain Creativity says, how should we spread a sort of conservative evangelicalism of sorts? Like, how can we best indoctrinate people into basedom? We should live Christ-like lives, and we should stop being hypocrites, all of us, myself included, and continue. Continue fighting the good fight, my friend. Oreo says, totally agree with you. Thank you. I know some people won't agree, and it's all good. It's not something where I'm going to no longer be your friend if you're on a different side of the Daily Wire, Steven Crowder, Civil War. It is what it is, but I'm definitely Team Crowdy. Team Crowder. Not Team Crowdy. Road King says, also with you on the God King being cringy. Don't like that. Yeah, I don't mess with that. That's not cool to me. Have you seen Low Valentino content? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't recognize the name. Not directly. Let me go follow the Conservative Immigrant. Oh, wait, already am. His lives are great, too. Yeah, he's a good guy. I like him. He and I are friends. If Trump did that, he'd be the first one with facial hair since Taft. Really? Not surprised. I unsubscribed from Daily Wire. Truth be told, I unfollowed a lot of people. I won't tell you who, but if you go to my socials, I'm no longer following a lot of the hatchet men that came out against Trump. There were people that were never mentioned. By the way, it's worth noting before I end this conversation, the Daily Wire outed themselves. Crowder intentionally left ambiguity. He said there's more players than you might realize. I'm not saying names. There's a lot of people in this industry doing the same thing. The Daily Wire just came forward. It was like, yeah, that was us, which caused infinitely more drama than there needed to be. There was no reason. If anybody's responsible for drama, it's not freaking Crowder. People forget about this. He left it anonymous, and they just ran to the front and were like, yeah, that was us. We screw people over. Very weird. I don't know why they did that, but nonetheless, I'm ultimately on team supporting good for both of them. Fair enough. I get that. Anyways, but there were all these Daily Wire people, like Candace Owens. I like Candace Owens. I hope to meet her someday. I think we'd get along fine. But Candace Owens came out and was attacking Crowder's character, saying he was a bad human being, calling him a B word, all kinds of vulgar stuff. She was going after him like crazy on Tim Pool's show. He's a genuinely bad human being. He's a bad person. I'm thinking, what? If he was in it for money, he would have taken the $50 million and just shut up. That's the easier option. That's easier. But anyways, I don't know what the heck that was all about, but the hatchet men that came out was bizarre. The way that the Daily Wire hosts, people who were never mentioned, like Matt Walsh, I like Matt Walsh, but what the heck was that about? Nobody even said your name. You just come out of left field like, Steven Crowder's an idiot, he's a bad person. Like Candace Owens, oh, they're a bad person. And I was like, whoa, that was so out of pocket, the response by, and listen, I still like these people. I'm not saying I have any ill will. They didn't attack me. They didn't offend me, but I was like, whoa, that seemed to not help the situation, right? People are like, oh, Crowder started drama. No. You want to know who started drama was the Hatchet Men and Daily Wire coming forward and owning it just to send out I guarantee there was a message sent out and they were like, bury him. And all these people, Ben Shapiro was like, oh yeah, Steven Crowder's betrayed all of his friends. He's a piece of crap. Also, by the way, consider purchasing Birch Gold because he had to do a live read. And anyways, it was just, okay, that's enough. I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm going to burn bridges that aren't mine to burn. But that's my 2 cents. That's my take. I've stood on principle my entire life. I will continue to stand on principle, even if it's less financially beneficial. I've done so already. I will continue to do so. And I will not be at any point neutered or muzzled or censored by anybody. That's part of the reason I like radio. By the way, quick plug, if you don't listen to the radio show every day, be sure you do so. 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time, the Real Talk Radio Network. You can listen anywhere in the world live from our app, the Real Talk 933 app. We just went to 50,000 watts. We're one of the biggest stations, not just in the St. Louis area, but like the entire geographical region. Massive statement now, or massive station now, and not censored at all. That was one of my requirements when it came to the radio. That's one of the reasons I was so enthusiastic about joining the station, was because I can literally get on there and say whatever I want to say. Now, if I say something that's like egregiously stupid, then sure, I'm sure I can get pulled. But it's not like I'm going to get on there and be told, Victor, you can't talk about a vaccine or you can't talk about an election. That doesn't happen. I'm very transparent with you guys. I will not be censored like that. If the day comes where somebody says, hey, Victor, you gotta self-censor. You can't talk about these things. That's my last day. So anyways, have you seen the news about the gay couple that abused their adopted Christian kids? Yes. And if it was up to me, I would personally send them to hell. I would pull a lever, I would pull a trigger, I would beat them to death with a baseball bat, and I would sleep like a baby afterward. Now, I'm not saying that's morally correct. I'm just saying if you repeatedly rape and pimp out 11-year-old children, yes, the death penalty, 100%. If I was a sheriff way back in the day, I would swing them from a tree, and I would not lose a 1 single second of sleep over that. That is the most degenerate, disgusting thing ever. Maybe it's time that we start reconsidering if we allow, like, who we allow to adopt. Are we ready for that conversation or not? When did that happen? When did gay people start adopting kids? It's going to get me canceled someday, that statement. Google Candace Owens social autopsy. I might have to look it up. Is it on Google Play? No, it's only on Real Talk 933 FM, but... right, you are in Missouri. Hawley, a dark horse for 24? No, Hawley... I'll be mad at Hawley if he runs in 24. Oreos and Cookie says, same. I think that even a quick death, I would make it slower and more painful. I won't disagree with you there. Full support for the death penalty for pedophiles. Yep. If it's like 100% no question about it, zero, like DNA evidence is there, everything's there, yes, kill them. Kill them 100%. All right, folks, I'm going to go. We've been on here for 47 minutes. This might be a record length live stream. All right, folks, I think I'm going to go. It's accounting PETA. Maybe you meant surprising? It's surprising PETA hasn't got you canceled for monkey and goose abuse. Maybe someday. There's a lot of things that I have said on these live streams. And listen, like I said, I just say the truth. I say what I believe. And I'm unapologetic about it. There's a lot of things I've said that people are uncomfortable saying, but they know it to be true. There's a reason I have a platform. There's a reason that people follow me and listen to my stuff. There's a reason you're here. So, hey, whatever. Anyways, nonetheless, okay. Take care, folks. I'm going to go. Lord willing, nothing in this stream will get me canceled too badly, but nonetheless, I hope you all have a good day. I hope that everybody stays safe. Missouri's going to get a serious snowstorm, up to 10 inches tonight, so Anyways, you guys take care. God bless. Keep me in your prayers. Keep your country in your prayers. That's all I got for you. God bless, guys.